David here. We are live at the heating, ventilation, air conditioning, great day, and refrigeration Expo and conference in Novi, Michigan. I actually signed up to attend the International Electronic Engineers Conference yesterday, but it conflicted with the holiday, so I'm sorry I missed that one. That was in Detroit yesterday. It's still going on, but the Expo part of the conference was Monday and Tuesday. So here I am at the Heating, Ventilation, Air Conditioning, and Refrigeration Conference, hosted by Baylor Young Company sponsor. So it's a training seminar, classes, and industry leaders and Expo. So I figured I'll check out the Expo, see what they got going on, pick up some reading material, and then get out of here, do a quick stream, and show people what's going on. So hopefully a little bit interesting. Construction, I go to a lot of the engineering conferences that mostly focus around the automobile industry, manufacturing, because that's more popular in Detroit. This is just straight construction. Pretty important, pretty straightforward. And the main components of a house, like if you're hey Molly, thanks for tuning in. Yeah, so the main components of a house, you have the electrical, plumbing, heating, ventilation, air conditioning. In New York you had like the fire suppression system. So you have the mechanical. So in New York, when I did building permits, you submitted a series of drawings that would include like the foundation, the basic mechanics of the building materials. I work for a tile contractor, also finishing, which would include things like tile, wallpaper, paint. But from the main systems of the house, working systems, you have electrical, plumbing, and heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. So the electrical, obviously, power supply, almost external coming to the house, supplying, and these go all behind the walls. So when you're building a house, you build the foundation, 18 how's it going? You build the structure of the house, and then behind the walls, usually like drywall or however they have it before it's finished, you'll lay the metal pipes or whatever type of pipes that you're using for the plumbing, the ducts and vents for heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. There'll also be the natural gas supply lines, and plumbing and electrical. So heating, ventilation, air conditioning is standard, I guess. Besides electrical and plumbing, conceivably older apartments don't have central air heating, and maybe you had like a air conditioning unit or heating unit, but most have it centralized, like a boiler room, and then there'll be ducts that run throughout the house, or the apartment or whatever unit, connecting the boiler room, the heating and air conditioning throughout the house, in the same way that you have plumbing and electrical wiring running through the house. So you have your three main units in a house of electrical, plumbing, and then heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, refrigeration. So also if you have bigger units, commercial units that have a refrigerator unit, like a refrigerated room. And so they add HVAC-R. A lot of times it's just HVAC with no R, but presumably it's a related field, that if you're going to have a larger unit that has refrigeration. It would go together with the HVAC unit. So let's take a look upstairs. And I didn't sign up for any of the training sessions. Really, yeah, I'm too old to equip myself for employment in the field of HVAC. If I was working more in the field, like if I was doing development, construction, property management, where I was regularly working with the HVAC, or where I needed some sort of training, maybe I would have signed up for some of the sessions. So you see they have, hey, good work. Yeah, so you can see they have classrooms with presentations, and you might still be able to sign up for today. See, the class is going until 7 o'clock. Various different things, heat pumps. So, the natural gas, usually in most places, heating is provided through natural gas, where the simple process is burning natural gas to make a flame, and then running a fan over the flame and sending the heat throughout the building. That's why you have the air ducts, and the ventilation sends heat throughout the house through the air ducts. You also have the old school water heaters, where sometimes they would send very hot water throughout the house in the coils, and then that hot water would expand as steam. And condensers, those have in some older buildings in New York or Israel, I remember those water steam heaters, and it would be the same thing, a boiler room that heats up the water and sends it throughout the house. But most now just use natural gas, burning the natural gas, and then a fan that blows the warmed air all over the house. Air conditioning works in a similar way, except there's a refrigerant. God forbid, in the old days, Freon, or these chemicals that caused problems with the ozone layer. But it's similar, that they will release some sort of chemical reagent that causes a cooling effect, and then blow the cool air throughout the house. So here you can see some bigger systems, heating and cooling, just basic systems. So here's a simple heater, gas heating, electric cooling, maybe in one unit. And you have a condenser, and a similar way that a refrigerator works for the air conditioning, like the thermodynamic cycle. Sorry, I didn't prepare, my mind's slipping me right now to, I think you have like the Krebs, not the Krebs, for the engine, the combustion cycle, but it's similar, but the opposite for a cooling cycle, where you have some sort of agent like Freon or chemical agent that could be condensed to between high and low pressures, and because the PV equals nRT squared, the relation between pressure and temperature, that the change in pressure will cause a change in temperature, and that's what causes the cooling, is the condenser and the change in pressure from liquid to gas that will cause a cooling effect. And usually you have coils, so like in a refrigerator, you have a condenser and it goes through a cycle, and when it's in its cooler phase, at a lower pressure. It is expanded through a bunch of coils, usually in the back of the refrigerator, and they'll run a fan over it, and that's what cools our refrigerator. And it's basically the same thing that works for our housing units. The basic chemistry, physics, thermodynamics. And to say the heating units is simpler than air conditioning, because you don't have to go through the condensation cycle to create the cooling effect. You just burn natural gas, and that's why I said air conditioning is provided through electricity as opposed to heating that's provided through burning natural gas. So not too exciting. I'm going to go around and gather some reading material, maybe just get out of here at the Sukkah holiday. Next week, or maybe 2 weeks from now, in the same room is the Automotive Expo, Automotive Testing Expo. Is going for years. Big show. The battery show was really packed. Hope people enjoyed that stream. There's another show next month at Detroit of historical housing preservation or something like that. Should be interesting. I'm sorry, I would have liked to have went yesterday. Conflict with the holiday to the Electrical Engineering Institute's conference in Detroit, but it conflicted with the holiday. So I guess I'll do like usual. I'll go table to table. Oh, they also have in the same building today a snow removal equipment expo and conference. I'm not sure if I think I've been to it in the past. I didn't register. It'd be kind of cool to film, but I think I'm going to skip on it. So they have a bunch of trucks and plows and attachments and various snow removal equipment. Big thing here in Michigan. So pretty cool. Get to see basic engineering. This is everyone has an automobile. Automotive manufacturer is a big deal for everybody, but also you like housing. Most people live indoors in housing and use air conditioning and heating. Just thinking back to old buildings that occasionally was in, or schools. Maybe in Detroit, some of the old schools might still use water heaters. Those have largely been phased out. More of a hazard. And even air conditioning, at least here in the U.S., is almost like a given. Some apartments don't have central air, and people will have to get their own air conditioning unit, usually stuck in a window, because air conditioning units produce more heat than cool, so the heat has to be blown somewhere. But presumably most houses, new construction, will have central heating and central cooling, and so pretty cool. So I guess I'm going to sign off. Have a great day. God bless. Happy holidays. People celebrating the Sukkah holiday.